Hello and welcome back to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Chris McKinney from Nolan Financial Partners. If you'd like more information about you here during our show today, please give us a call at 719-210-4242 or visit us online at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. And while at our website, click on the radio page, check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music. Why we believe everyone should take some time now and then to dream about their eventual retirement. It's important to bear in mind that how you envision your ideal retirement is likely to change as you grow a little older and your tastes and financial circumstances change. But no matter how your tastes and circumstances change, you're likely still to have 4 stages, or what I often call chapters of retirement. I also call them levels because they relate to the atmosphere, and I'm a meteorologist at heart. Before we start reading through these chapters, let me introduce you to my co-host, Tony Shore. Any big New Year's resolution this year, Tony? Are you doing anything big?
Well, I just want to, every year has got to be better. You got to make it better than the year before. And it's kind of New Year's resolutions are kind of, what's really different than, January 1st than any other day of the year. Why do we say New Year's resolutions? But it is a good excuse to, hey, get on a new path, maybe change some things you want to change about yourself. And I think 24 is off to a great start. I'm eating better, eating less. So that's always good. And every year that seems to be my goal. Last year, I actually did achieve a little bit of weight loss. This year, I think I got to exercise more, Chris. I haven't really exercised since the Carter administration, as I like to say. So I think I should probably exercise more this year. What do you think?
Yeah. I think, if you're not getting your heart rate up to 140 every day, then you're not taking care of your heart. That's what I think. You should do something to get your heart rate up to 140 beats per minute every day.
Yeah, that's true. You should. My doctor tells me that too. He tells me that every time I see him. And so I'm like, one of these days I should take his advice.
Since you're paying for it?
Yeah, I pay him to tell me. And that's what I'm with my doctor, Chris. I'm like, how much am I paying you to tell me I need to diet and exercise? Any stranger off the street can look at me and tell me I need to diet and exercise. I have to pay you $300 to tell me that? And he laughed. I told my doctor that.
He has the blood proof.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But back on food, so there's a Netflix documentary called You Are What You Eat, and it's about a Stanford study that studied twins. They put one on an omnivore diet and one on a vegetarian diet, and then they studied their blood and all kinds of different things about them. It's very interesting. They do get a little bit into beating up on the animal, the industry that provides meat to us.
Oh, yeah.
So be prepared for that part about it.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. I mean, we all know it's an ugly industry.
Terrible.
And it has been that way for a while.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things is a Michelin restaurant in New York City. They decided to go all vegan, and they were able to keep their Michelin star. So they thought there's just no way you can charge, $350 for a set menu and then it's vegetables
without meat. Yeah.
Without meat. Right.
Yeah. Well, there's also a Netflix documentary called Living Past 100 or Living Longer, the Blue Zone documentary about the blue zones, how there's 5 blue zones on Earth where people live longer, and they've done massive research on why that is. And one of the things, there's a few things they all have in common. One of the things is they eat less or no processed foods.
Right.
Which is hard to do in America, but it is possible. The second thing is they eat a lot of in all 5, they eat something called legumes. You know what a legume is?
A bean.
Yeah. Yep. They all eat those. So that's a good one. But it's a balance. It's not like that's all they eat all day, every day. That's just one of the things they eat. They are primarily vegetarian diets, but not all. There's meat in those diets, but it's not processed, right? It's not it's not been treated or sprayed or anything, and everything here, it seems, has gone through some kind of process, and that's usually not good. but yes, we're off topic, but you said 4 retirement chapters or levels. I always heard the 3 retirement stages. I've always been told there are 3 stages of retirement, but you're talking 4. So I'm interested to see what the 4th is. I've been told the 3 stages of retirement are the go-go years, slow-go years, and the no-go years. So go-go, slow-go, and no-go are the 3 stages of retirement.
You forgot about the pre part.
Yes, the most important part of retirement, right? The 4th
most important part
is the first one, which is pre-retirement.
Yeah, so usually people, when they're in their early 50s, start thinking, hey, I might want to retire sometime soon. I need to probably talk to somebody about that. And so that's when they give me a call. Hopefully they give me a call then. What I get a lot of times is, I retired last week. Do my finances, make a plan for me. I'm like, this is a little late. We'll do what we can. So, because they're most of it's already set when you've separated from your job and you're in retirement. We do stuff. We can do stuff, but there's so many things you can do if you start planning during your pre-retirement phase, right? Your pre-retirement chapter, layer, level, whatever you want to call it. But that's where most people live, is in that level, right? Everybody's thinking about retirement at some point before they retire. So most people have been in that, and then they're in that all the time. The earlier you get started, the better. So most financial services professionals recommend that you begin saving money for retirement as soon as your career begins, right? So even if your company doesn't offer a 401k, you can start your own personal retirement systems. So see your financial services professional for what those are, and what is right for you. Okay. But so once you turn 50, that's when that clock begins to tick a little faster for most people. So most people are starting to see that, and they come see a financial services professional.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I think that's huge. And so the first stage is probably the most important, right? Is that 10 years or so leading up to retirement, where you have to get prepared, you have to have a plan, and you really have to be working with a financial services professional like yourself, right?
That's right, because the first thing is you're getting close enough, you can probably start to clearly articulate what your goals are going to be after you're not working, right? So what kind of lifestyle are you going to try to maintain? So that determines how much funds you're going to need. How those funds come to you is important, because the way the different retirement systems work, some things are better if you can get things that are locked in. For some people, they don't want the lock in. So those are the kind of things that you've got to discuss with you and your spouse, and your financial service professional, so you're all on the same page, so that you have the money that you need when you need it in retirement, and so that the goals are aligned with your retirement plan. So look, understand that my telling you to set goals may seem overly simplistic, but in my professional experience, it's one of the most simple things that gets overlooked. Somebody comes in, they think they have a plan, and so we don't get them off your plan. We're not trying to get you into a whole new plan, right? Bring your plan in. Let's look at it. We'll add to it. Okay. Don't think that a financial service professional is going to upset your apple cart. All right. This is your retirement. They're there to add to your plan, to make it better, to make it more robust, to make it be able to withstand um, health issues, or, big expenditures on a house. So
Right.
many people, when they retire, they start looking around their house and like, man, this kitchen is tired, or this bathroom, I hate this bathroom. I've always hated this bathroom. I've got time to look at it too much now that I'm retired. I got to change it. so they
Right.
so they drop 10 or 15 grand on a new bathroom that's special, that they want to say, okay, I could live in this bathroom for 30 years. So those are the kind of things that we can help make sure that they're part of your plan. And we go through a process where we ask you questions, we get things out of you, and then we'll start to add things that maybe you haven't thought about. Hey, you're in Colorado. Do you want to stay here forever? It gets cold in the winter. A lot of people want to go south and get out of the cold. So we started helping you create a strategy that works for you and your spouse.
I can't imagine ever wanting to leave Colorado, though. It's a beautiful state. It's a beautiful place. You could go to Pueblo. It's a little warmer there. You were just talking about that before the show, right?
Yeah, Pueblo, just move down the mountain a little bit.
Right. But, I would obviously, preparing for retirement in this pre-retirement stage, you can't do it without having an idea of how much money you're going to need. And that's a big question that people have. And that's where you come in. That's why you and Tara have the jobs you do, is to help people, help your clients figure out, number one, help them figure out exactly how much they're going to need in retirement for that retirement income, and then how to make that happen, and how to set up a retirement income plan so you don't have to worry about market volatility. You don't have to worry about inflation. You've got a plan in place.
Right.
And obviously you can make adjustments depending on what happens, but I think that's huge.
You can't hit a target you don't aim at.
That's right. In fact, one of my first jobs when I moved to California to do radio promotions, my boss told me, he sat behind me and listened to a call, and I would call radio stations and say, hey, are you playing this song? Okay, when you report to the national charts, because I'd call the reporting stations, they're the ones that report to the national charts, the airplay. And I go, I would say, hey, thanks for playing this song. And I'd hang up, and I was new. I'd just started there, been there like a week or two. And he was standing behind me, and he goes, what's your goal, Tony? Why are you making these calls? What's your goal? And I go, to get them to play the song. And he goes, no, that's not the final goal. And I go, okay, to get them to report it to the charts. But you don't just want them to report it. What's the ultimate goal? And I go, to get the song to number one. And he goes, exactly. I didn't hear you ask them that, to report the song at number one. and I go, okay. So on the next call I did, and the radio guy said, okay.
Sure.
You're never going to get what you don't ask for. That's what he told me.
Oh, yeah.
You're never going to get something you don't ask for in this business. Sometimes
in life, with everything.
Yeah. And that's in life, but that's what you were talking about. That's one of the most valuable lessons I learned. And I mean, I know it's kind of salesy, but for sales, that's important, but you're never going to get something if you don't ask. And I tell my kids that. I said, if you want something, you got to ask for it. My mom taught me that too, with my first radio job in my hometown of Worthington, Minnesota. I go, I want to be a DJ, right? I saw Dr. Johnny Fever on WKRP, and I said, I want to be a radio announcer. And she goes, well, go get a job at the radio station. I go, I can't, they're not going to give, I'm in high school. They're not going to, she goes, go tell them you're willing to do anything to get your foot in the door. Tell them you're willing to come in a couple times a week to empty the trash or do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I went, and they said, actually, we have a graveyard shift open on air. Why don't you sit in this booth? They hit record and they said, start reading the news. They gave me a newspaper, start reading the articles. And I did.
Wow.
And that was my first voice tape that I made and I got the job.
You could clearly enunciate and everybody could understand you.
Yeah. My speech was not slurred. So
no. And you have pretty good pitch. I don't know if you understand. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I was listening to a guy who has perfect pitch, and I started listening to his words, and it was like, wow, he says every letter and every word. You can hear every one of them. Perfect pitch. That's what a lot of radio guys have, is they have a way of.
Yeah, and some great singers have perfect pitch, like to hit the notes.
Yeah,
but you're right. You're right. You listen to certain audiobooks. There are certain voiceover people that do audiobooks,
right?
And the top ones are the perfect pitch. Scott Brick is probably one of the most famous. He does a lot of novels and thrillers. He's probably the highest paid and one of the most sought after audiobook. If you listen to audiobooks, some of our listeners have probably heard of Scott Brick. His voice is yeah. But anyway, back to the stages. We're talking about pre-retirement. Are we ready to move into the second stage then?
Yeah, I am. So in pre-retirement, you figure out how much money you need to save. You save it, right? So it's about savings, getting those savings going.
That's true.
Having that strategy that protects those savings from all the factors that erode it's a purchasing power in the future. Through growth and through where it's at and taxes, those kind of things. So get all those things set up. So then now you're going to retire, and that's a really scary thing because you're no longer be working. And so you've worked your whole working career has been creating this nest egg. And so all your retirement is going to come from this nest egg, your Social Security, if there's a pension, maybe you purchase some annuities, something like that. So it goes without saying that balancing your financial strategy and how you spend that money in retirement is crucial, right? You really got to understand how to spend your money once you get in retirement. For one thing, you gotta let go a little bit. This is not your nest egg anymore. This is what you're living on. So spend the money. It's okay. That's why you saved it, so you could have it to spend. Don't if you got $2 million in savings, why would you live on just your Social Security and maybe a small pension, right?
Right.
Spend the money.
Yeah, exactly.
So these early retirement years that this chapter's about is the most expensive because that's when your health and your energy are strong. You have all these plans about maybe traveling or doing a new hobby. So you're going to get all your equipment for your hobby. You're going to start being active with travel. Maybe you're want to go full time, right? I got a few clients that are full timers, and so they've got very expensive RVs and they travel. Well, guess what? Parking your RV places has gotten super expensive compared to it's no longer, about showing up and handed somebody 220s. So it's really, really expensive. So you got to make sure, okay, well, I got this RV, even though I paid for the whole thing, I still have to figure out how much it's going to cost me to be a full-time RVer in the summer. Because
to stay a night with all the amenities to hook up your RV to stay at a nice place. You're right. It is getting expensive. And I'll tell you what, you see these big RVs on the road and you think, well, sure, the RV is expensive, but they pay for it and then they can live in it. But the gas to drive those things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Those tanks, they don't fill themselves. You better have a couple of grand to fill up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and there's a new KOA that moved in not far from me, and my friend told me they're charging $1,000 a month for full hookup.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's
There's people on the lot. They just opened recently.
between that and the RV payment, you could own a house, that's for sure. And then you
yeah.
have the gas on top of it.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
I don't understand
Yeah.
how that works, but
So
I understand the cost, because you figure an electric bill for one of those
Yep.
things,
Yep.
because that includes their heat, right? As electric bill does. So that's probably $300 to $400
Yeah.
a month in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Well,
I
and
understand why they charge.
yeah. Well, that's right. And the second chapter is the early retirement years, or as I
Yep.
call them, the go-go years, and that's probably the most expensive. That's when you're
Yep,
going to be,
that's right.
because you're active. What about the third phase?
So the third chapter is you're starting to slow down a little bit, and you you're maybe your health isn't as quite as good.
Sure.
So those are that's the time when you start to kind of pull back a little bit, I guess, from your spending. You're traveling less, staying closer to home. But
Yep.
the healthcare expenses is really kind of what it's about. Healthcare expenses, so you can stay mobile and keep moving around and do things.
Sure.
The other part is you're starting, if you and your spouse are the same age, or maybe the husband's a little bit older, you're thinking long-term care insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
that's a big part of, I know, the fourth stage, your final retirement years, but those
that's right.
middle years, it can creep in there. You got to have a plan in place, and hopefully
Yeah.
you're going to have money set aside to help with medical expenses, because Medicare doesn't cover it all, right?
No, they don't. So Medicare does 90 days. That's it.
Yeah.
Of long-term care, right? So
Right. And they don't even
once
cover all your healthcare needs, like
no,
hearing, vision, dental, unless you have supplemental or an advantage plan that covers those things.
that's right. So there's all kinds of supplements and advantage plans. There are healthcare, I call them brokers. They're people that will help you at no cost to you. They don't charge you any more for you to go get help, right? So
Right.
they'll help you. They get a small fee from whoever that you end up going with, and then they will help you decide between all the supplement D, supplement F, supplement whatever, or the advantage plans. It's good to know the differences. And then if you're military, then there's TRICARE for life.
Yep.
And so
TRICARE.
is that the right one to go with, right? Versus the supplements? I don't know. And there's no
Depends
reason
on
to
your
get
situation. Yeah.
that's right. And there's no reason to get ahead of it um, longer than 6 months. Okay. So you turn 64, you start asking that question, because at
Sure.
65, you're going to get all that stuff set up for Medicare.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good to know. And it is important for people to realize Medicare doesn't cover everything, especially long-term care. They only cover a
That's right.
portion, and that's only in a special circumstance where you move from a hospital into long-term care.
There's
If you do that,
lots
then
of rules.
there's lots of rules. They may cover 90 to 100 days at most.
Right.
So that's really the third stage. And I imagine another part of the third stage is to revisit your legacy plan or your estate planning. Make sure that's all your ducks in a row, because
Yeah.
you're getting toward the end of your life then.
One of the things that we do is we make sure that you've got all your legacy issues dealt with, right? It's okay. I want to leave. I got my will in place. Oh, I got this one grandchild with special needs. I want to set up a trust for them. Okay, let's get that done. I've got this and that. Let's make sure that your druthers are written down, right? And the other thing is we can help with that. So we've had some of our clients pass, and then the spouse comes in, and I tell you what, if you lose a spouse, you don't think clearly for a year easily.
No. Yeah.
And
That's sad.
so you can come talk to your financial services professional, and they know what your druthers are, hopefully because you've talked to them about it, and then they can help that spouse through that time, make sure that all their financial needs are taken care of, make sure they get referred to the right people for whatever else they need during that time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important. So those are the middle years, and of
Yep.
course you're spending maybe the least during that period of all these periods. However, now we're in the fourth retirement chapter, or as I call it, the no-go years, and this is when you're really your healthcare costs are gonna balloon, right?
Yeah, usually once that you're in that final chapter, you're not traveling, you're not doing your hobbies because you don't feel good enough,
Right.
So you spend a lot of time not moving, and not moving is uh, that's when you start to have health problems, and
Yeah.
they start to compound, and
Yeah.
so that's kind of the last chapter. Um, there's some attention to detail to this, so that you need to be diligent about tracking, evaluating your financial strategy, so that those healthcare costs don't run away with all the money that you're trying to leave to either to your spouse or to your
Hmm.
children. So there may need to be some adjustments.
Yeah.
Might need to look at how that's going, and what needs to be done there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, it is important. I know there are strategies that you can do in that pre-retirement phase to plan for long-term care and healthcare needs later in life, and tax situations. A lot comes into play during these four chapters. But the key is, no matter where you're at, to have a plan and work with a
That's right.
financial services professional. So we're out of time, but before we
Oh,
go, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you, Chris.
hey, please give us a call at 719-210-4242. We're offering a complimentary consultation if you call off the radio show. I also have a book, Money Moves by Tara Nolan. It's a really good, comprehensive look at retirement. There's graphs and charts, and then also all the description that goes with it. So Tara was a teacher once, and so she believes in trying to touch all those learning styles, right? So it's a really good book, really thought out. Give us a call at 719-210-4242. Check us out online at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. We can check out our radio show down there. But go ahead and make that call. Call us at 719-210-4242.
All right. Sounds great, Chris. Listeners, that does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio with our host, Chris McKinney.
Join us again soon for another episode of Nolan Financial Radio. Take care, and we'll talk to you again.